And I'm smiling because you know, I'm doing this video because I'm petty. I am. I will admit that I am petty. But I'm doing this because of the simple fact that Noelle will blame me even when it ain't my fault. And I just, after 12 years or so, or however long it's been, I don't let it get to me. I kind of just wait and see what happens because I have to think through, like, how is it my fault? Like, what happened? So today I'm at work and, I'm dealing with numbers all the time. And I'm really in process and everything is very delicate, So I'm in there trying to work and do things. I have like a bunch of things in the last hour that just piled on that I'm trying to like get through because it's a timely issue. I have to get it done today. It's not like I can put it off because then that affects the financials. So all of a sudden I get this text message saying that the IRS said that we got our tax money back in February, but it's not in our bank account. And I said, I don't know. Meanwhile, I have a lot of different things right on my desk that I have to do. Like there's other things that I have to do, like security wise, for stuff. And I'm like, I don't know. Like call the IRS. I'm not them. I don't know. I don't know. Call the bank. So I can tell in her text messages that it was like anger. I told Noelle that I can tell. Make sure you join the Discord. It's going to be down in the description box below. So this is a story time, right? I just jumped right in, and because this is exciting for me, at least. So I do the taxes every single year, even though I don't want to. And I hate dealing with numbers. Now, when it comes to making money, I can definitely do that all day. When it comes to like investments and stuff, and I'm very particular with that, but I really don't like to, right? Noelle's got a master's degree. I have a bachelor's degree. Noelle has a master's degree, and she hates math. She sucks at math. But still, I have to do the taxes every year. It used to be that I would have to do all the finances in the house, but I'll let her do that. I do the finances at the business I control because Noelle would just spend. Like she tries to stimulate the economy of Tacoma. I'm like, slow down. Hold on a second. So I had to cap off stuff. So now it's like, ask first. Before you spend a nickel, ask. Because I want to go through and I look at everything before you just start spending. Because something will come up and then there we are. So I'm like, don't spend nothing. Let me check and see. So when it comes to the taxes, I'm the one that has to do it. Now, meanwhile, I come home, I'm tired. I've already been all day staring at a screen. I'm just wanting to just not have to do anything but zone out. And I know the taxes were looming, so I'm like, okay, let's just do these taxes and get them done. You got to make sure you get all the paperwork and all these little dribs and things come in dribs and drabs. I don't have anything here. But little things come in, trickle here, trickle there. You got to download this and do that. And it's a headache, right? And I'm too cheap to send it off to, hold on a second, my phone's going to die. I'm too cheap to send it off to an accountant. And I don't want to do that. And I know some accountants, actually. Oh, darn. Oh, not too bad. I know some accountants, but I don't want to do that. So when I first did it, I made a mistake. Not the first time, but like this time around, I made a mistake. I went in and there was just one simple code that I made a mistake. You have to scroll down and choose a code. I put in the wrong code and it had us owing a bunch of money. Like I was thinking, man, what am I going to do? Like, a bunch. I'm like, we're going to have to pay that. Like, the IRS wants their money now. So I'm like, we're going to have to pay that. So I go and use the bathroom. That's how bad it was. I'm like, man, I gotta go to the bathroom. I was nervous. I said, you go check it out. Look over it. Noelle looked over all the paper, all the stuff. She comes back and she's like, yeah, I think you're right. Bunch of money, like a bunch. I'm like, this ain't good. Something can't be right, because like, if you own a business, typically you do fairly well. So I go back through there and I'm like, let's just go back over this one time, like going over section by section by section, and I found where there was a code that I missed. I put that code in and it just accelerated everything in the right direction, and it gave us a pretty big refund back. Nice one back. And I'm like, okay, that's about where it should be, because that's kind of the way it has been. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. So I would say for an hour, we were panicking. I accept that. Now, the first time when I made that mistake, I went on ahead and put in all the stuff I'm supposed to, the financials and everything on our end for our bank. Did everything twice, and I said, I'm not going to hit it yet, because once you hit it. So I didn't submit it. I waited. And I'm glad I did, because when we went back through and everything was good, I said, check it again, Noelle. So she goes back through, she checks it, she's like, yeah, after I did all the work. Yeah, it looks great. This is great. I said, well, go on ahead and put the bank information in. Now, previous years, I put in all the bank information. Right after I get done, I just submit it, because she doesn't want to look at it. I just submit it. As long as it's money coming back, that's all she cares about. It's got to be the right amount for her. Then she's cool. If it's low, or we owe, then she's not interested. She wants to look through it. So that's what happened last year. That's what would have happened this year had I not made the initial mistake of putting in the wrong code. So since I corrected the code and we were going to get money back that was decent, I was like, whew, okay, now I can, distress. Went in there, turned on the TV, ready to get on the PlayStation. I said, just go ahead and put in the bank, because now that we went through and changed stuff, we have to put in the bank information again. Well, she put in the banking information and she left out a digit. She left out a digit. But today she was trying to blame me because I did the taxes. She was like, I don't have the messages in front of me because they're on the phone, but you could tell it was just anger through the phone. But very short words. You could tell, like, we were talking about earlier, when food is made with love, you can tell. Like when Noelle makes food and she puts some love into it, you can tell, versus when she's not, because stuff is just not as tasty or not seasoned or a little burnt or whatever the case may be, or just not, the corn might be too crunchy. It's just not the way, you turn the flame up real high, let stuff boil, and then turn it off and say, food's done. That's not made with love, as opposed to taking your time and, seasoning everything the way that, we like it. That's made with love. Well, she also sends texts the exact same way. Texts that are either made out of love, which most of them are, or texts that she's salty. She was bitter. She was pissed. She was bitter. I was trying to say bitter and pissed at the same time. But she was bitter and pissed at me over something I didn't do. So when we got home, because I was flustered, because I just had all these numbers in my head at work, I'm thinking back, yeah, I know I did the taxes, and I know I put the bank information in, but I don't remember if I did it the second time, but it didn't say anything. Quiet, very quiet ride home, and the kids typically are talkative. Very quiet. She didn't really say much. How was your day? That's what she said. So that's good. I told her kind of what was going on. That was it. She didn't say nothing else. Got home and I said, it's not a big deal. I mean, they'll send it to you by mail. It'll be a paper check, and yeah, it takes a little bit longer. It's not instantaneous, that type of thing. And, not a biggie. But she mad. I said, all right, I get it. So after I was able to distress a little bit, come in, get a little sip of water, I'm like, wait a second now. That wasn't me that submitted the thing. I did all the stuff, but I didn't put in the bank information because I remember our bank's got the numbers in there. It's kind of unique and it's annoying. And it was that annoying part in our series of numbers that got her. She left off a digit. But she was saying, you left off a digit. When she went back through and looked at she pulled up the tax, you left off a digit. Now this is while I'm at work, while I'm putting out all these different little fires. And I don't know. Like, you gotta call that. There's nothing I can do about it now. So then when she's on the thing calling the IRS, I'm like, you gotta call that. I know, that's what I'm doing. It's impossible because it's impossible to reach a human right now because everybody's calling. So then when she said that, it dawned on me. I'm like, wait a second. I didn't put that in. I looked at her and I said, you put that in. And so you could see her smile and say, well, and I said, so you were mad at me? I'm not mad at you. I was mad at the situation. I texted her because I had to go to the bathroom. And when I was in the bathroom, I was texting her. I'm like, wait a second. That was you. And you were mad at me, but it was actually you. Noelle's face gets puffy. And when she's mad, when she's sleepy, when she's mad, it's puffy. And I'm like, you were like puffed out like a puffer fish. And I said, you should stare at the mirror at yourself because you're the one that you should be blaming, not me. Like, I'm not stressed out about it. I know we'll eventually get it. Not a big deal. I wasn't mad at her because she left out a number. I'm like, whatever, things happen. And so anyhow, she said, I was mad a little bit at you. But she's like, I'm still mad at the situation. I'm like, things happen. Not a big deal. You'll be able to get it. It's not a big worry. Not a problem. It'll come in the mail. Things like this happen all the time. People leave out a digit. They maybe add an extra digit. She's already called the bank. They said that no, there's no other account that this went to. It's cool. Banks have routing numbers for a reason because even if the account number that we typed in matched someone else's, it's not going to go to them because of the routing number. Because I worked at a bank before, and I'm like, it's not. You're fine. You're fine. You'll get your cash because I ain't gonna get nothing. I go to work. You know how much? I get an allowance. I go to work. She gives the kids an allowance with my money, and then I get this. I get a $20 bill. Now, I have access. She's like, but you have access to the bank account. I know I do. I have access to the bank account. But she sits there and stares at the bank account constantly. Checks it several times a day. She checks it constantly. So I'm like, that's why we have separate Amazon accounts, which is a bad thing because I'm on there buying all the time. But we have separate Amazon accounts because she's constantly checking everything. So she knows if I buy her a gift on Amazon, she's going to know exactly what it is. And as soon as it's delivered, it sends her a little notification saying, hey, your package came. And I got her a package just now. But if I didn't have my own separate Amazon account, she would never know. Now that I have my own separate one, because it was her idea, she got tired of all of my I put things in the shopping cart and then I save them for later. Because I'm like, I'm going to get you eventually. So I save it for later, everything. From popcorn seasoning to barbecue seasoning to everything. Things I don't need, crossbows, bunch of stuff, right? I just save it. I'm like, I'll get you when I feel like it. And so she gets mad at me because I have like a ton of stuff. And so she made me get my own Amazon account. And I'm like, all right. So I just went over to my own Amazon account, loaded it full of stuff, tons of stuff. Some of the stuff I will never get. Some of the stuff I think is cool. And I'm like, I want to go back and read it again. Things I'm never going to buy, but I'll still save it because I think it's cool. So now she's mad at me again because she can't see what I'm getting. I'm like, what do you want from me? Like, what do you want? You don't want me to have like our joint Amazon account because I add too much stuff in there. And you hate it because then she can't find when she puts stuff. She puts stuff sporadically in there, like stuff that we actually need. I put all types of everything in there. So she's mad at me because I did that. So I had to get my own separate one. Well, I was voluntold. She set it up. I'm like, cool, sign into that and do my own thing. But she doesn't like it. But she blames me. It's just funny. So then I take it. I'm like, that's cool. Because I know Noelle. I know Noelle better than anybody else. I even told, I don't know if I told her sister that, but I know her better than her family does. I just do. Like, I know Noelle. I know when she's mad. I know when she's sad. I know when she's bitter. I know when something's on her mind. I can just read it without her saying anything. I know her very well. And I knew just before I even saw her face, just the comments that the way that she wrote her text back, she was mad at me. I just knew it. And then today, she didn't really speak to me. So I'm like, all right, you mad. But then later on, I figured out that it was all her fault. So I basically bask in the glow of it. So I did this video for two reasons. One, it's a pretty funny video in my opinion to actually post and put up and to let people know that our relationship's not always perfect, right? For two, not everything has to be super serious. I don't let things bother me too much anymore. Now, back in the day, I probably would have freaked out and be like, oh my goodness. Now I'm like, whatever, man. We'll get it eventually. Like, not a big deal. Things don't really bother me much anymore. So that's for two. But for three is to basically put it up there and be like, there you go, Noelle. You were wrong, but you were blaming me. But anyhow, tell me what type of funny stories that you guys have as far as your girlfriend, boyfriend, spouse, whatever the case may be, of where you're always wrong, no matter what, even though it's the other person that's typically wrong. Make sure you join the Discord. It's going to be down in the description box below. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and comment. Until next time, I will see you. Take care.